for you to doubt El Daniel, because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Yeah! Can he do it? Holler! Oh, and a kick out! Unbelievable!
Too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am the Macho King Savage.
Woo! Such a massive thong wearing fatty!
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, want your name in the shout-outs like my good buddy John down in Texas. John, much appreciated all the banter during WrestleMania weekend. Always love talking to you, buddy. Check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast if you want to join John in the Pro Wrestling Podcast family. And if you are a loyalty rewards person, that would be a $15 a month contributor. We will let you co-host an episode with me live. And if you're a $7.50 a month contributor, we'll put you into a drawing to do the same. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got comments, questions, something you want to talk about in a future episode you want me to address, drop me a line at the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160, and I will get to that in a future episode. Listen, coming out of WrestleMania weekend, I apologize. Normally I would have done something, another episode ahead of WrestleMania, during WrestleMania or something, but I got COVID that weekend. So as a guy who lives in the Philadelphia area, if I'm being completely honest, I was really looking forward to a much bigger WrestleMania weekend, but that didn't happen. So, that being said, I was watching with my eyes glued to the screen both nights as well as NXT. It was a wonderful weekend of programming, continued with Raw, even SmackDown with the Battle Royal. I even enjoyed the Battle Royal. I really did. I don't know if in my fandom of being a pro wrestling fanatic my whole life, I don't know if I've ever been more satisfied with a WrestleMania than I was this one. I'm not going to say that every single match on the card lived up to their billing. I think the general consensus has been that the Jimmy J. Uso match could have been much better. I'm not going to be one of those guys like some of the internet trolls who are trashing the match. You know, the reality is I think the storyline went on so long that no matter what Jimmy and Jay did, nobody was going to be satisfied. I really believe that. That does not take away from the fact that I don't firmly believe they could have done a much better job. And I felt like Solo should have been somewhere involved in night one, and he really didn't do anything. So that was somewhat frustrating. Coming out of night one, I thought night one was, of the two nights, a little more lackluster. I did enjoy the main event, the second longest main event in Mania history. They did a great job of a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of selling to make it go that long. I thought it was fantastic. I loved a ton of the entrances were amazing. And really, there wasn't, other than that Uso match, I thought all the matches were solid. They really were. The from the opening match with Rhea and Becky really putting in the work, and knowing that Rhea was the reports are she was having some anxiety concerns before the match, and that Becky Lynch was suffering from strep throat and other ailments, had a fever. They went out there and they put on a clinic, and it didn't really stop from there. Like I said, the only exception possibly being that Usos match. Love Sami Zayn getting his moment. I thought they built that in just a beautiful way. I didn't see it coming. I really thought that they would keep it on Gunther and have Dragunov come up to Raw and take it from him, which, oddly enough, Dragunov was on Raw last night. So it would have been an opportunity there. Now I don't like what they're doing with Sami Zayn and now Chad Gable. I think Gable deserves the championship, and you can't take it off Zayn that fast. And if they do, it kind of throws a lot of water on the fire of the Intercontinental Championship and its prestige if you let the championship transition that fast after somebody held it for 665 or 666, depending on whose perspective you seem to talk about. That being said, let's get into some of the other news, and I'm sure I'll reference back to WrestleMania. I will say this, I'm man enough to admit, I legit cried watching the end of Cody's championship win Sunday night, and it was not even about Cody winning. It was about two other things. One was seeing Roman Reigns smile as Cody was getting his win. I thought that was the most human moment I've seen from Roman in so long. I know people posted videos of Roman and Paul Heyman embracing at the top of the rampway. Paul Heyman having a huge weekend. That Hall of Fame speech may be the greatest of all time. But that wasn't what got me. If I'm being completely honest, what really got me emotionally as a wrestling fan, and I know I saw online some people complaining about it, I thought it was absolutely perfect, was Samantha Irvin announcing him winning the championship. The emotion that she showed. If you were not the overly emotional fan, she really found a way to tug at your heartstrings, just being able to announce that incredible moment she knew she was a part of. She had the same situation the night before with Sami Zayn winning the Intercontinental Championship. And before I get off WrestleMania, I so many highs, so many great moments, so many great spots. Even the LA Knight AJ Styles I thought was not going to be great. It was a fantastic match. I loved it. Oddly enough, I even enjoyed the final testament against Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. I even enjoyed that. Kudos to the ladies for taking the major table bump through the tables on the outside. I thought that was great. The dive over the corner and oh my gosh, even that was solid. Really wasn't anything that thoroughly disappointed me. I thought they could have done a lot better job with the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, that portion of the ladder match, but otherwise, I have no complaints. I love all the return. I know I saw Ric Flair's comment on X talking about how he doesn't like the interference, but they pulled it off. The interference, because of how much you built up Roman Reigns, was almost a requirement to have this match. It really, and all the stars aligned properly. Look, I know there's people online who really wanted to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Undertaker's spot, but I saw somebody, it was The Miz, his response online was about how The Undertaker was the boss in the locker room. He was the leader of the locker room, and that this was a way for him to put a stamp on the final boss and then turn the reins over to Cody to be the new locker room leader. I thought the emotion that Seth showed when he lost the World Heavyweight Championship was just, oh my gosh, amazing. I was so happy for Damian Priest's cash-in. I loved that Drew McIntyre got to share, even if it was only 5 minutes and change, got to share a moment with his family, which was absolutely beautiful. In terms of the emotion, though, I really thought Cody, the handshake with Seth outside the ring, it looked genuine, it looked real, and I love seeing that. And all the affection for CM Punk from the fans all weekend long, it was just all fantastic. It really was. Cody Rhodes set a record at WrestleMania 40 in the news today, which I think is really cool, as he sold over $1 million in merchandise for them. Just tells you how there were people who had concerns about, is he really the guy to lead the company? If you sell $1 million in merch, you better be happy. Yeah, you've got to. That's insane. That's colossal achievement right there, and only further verifies that they're doing the right thing by making him the focal point of the product. I loved Bully Ray being a part of the show. I did see that he came out today on Busted Open Radio, was talking about Raw. For those who didn't see Raw, the big face-off with The Rock and Cody Rhodes. Some people felt like maybe it was too quick to do that, but it is what it is. The Rock is leaving to go to Hollywood, and the question about what did he put in Cody's hand, and I thought Bully Ray and I had the exact same thought process, and I'm actually almost irritated that I didn't do an episode before Bully Ray said it, just so I could take all the credit for it. What is the possibility that what he put in his hand was I don't think they would do it to the real one, but a copy of, a smashed version of the watch. If anybody watched the press conference after Mania Night 2, Cody with the watch that they said was the watch that his father pawned to send him to acting school, that somehow Nick Khan and Triple H and Bruce Pritchard had come up with a way to get that or actual watch back. He was so emotional in the press conference. But what if, I don't doubt that may be the real watch, but what if it also plays into the storyline where The Rock reaches into his pocket and has smashed that watch, handed it to Cody. Cody was clearly emotional and angry as soon as he handed it to him, and he said, "You're going to know exactly what this is." That is the only thing that makes sense to me that he could hand him. right now that people should be able to piece together. And I thought Bully Ray hit the nail right on the head. I really did. I thought it was awesome. The other cool stuff coming out of the weekend, Julia finally arriving on a WWE screen at NXT Stand and Deliver. It is very clear now. They're saying that she is absolutely signing with WWE and coming right to NXT. There was talk of her going and helping start up the new promotion. Apparently that is not the case. She's going to go right to NXT. And the word is this week, Rossy Ogawa is going to announce his new promotion by the end of the week, and that should be very exciting. That, according to the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 Online. I hope so. And, the fact that he and she were there at WrestleMania just shows that WWE, and the big word coming out is that Nick Khan is looking to do business with other companies, with Rossy Ogawa, with GCW, with Bloodsport, with Impact Wrestling, and potentially others if they're open to do business. I think that could only push the product forward. There were some questions about if there was any backlash or concern with the Triple H and Bruce Pritchard being brought down to the ring during Cody's celebration. Apparently that was not planned. He called them out, and it legitimately was a shoot. They had not planned for that. They were surprised backstage, and it went down perfectly. I really thought it was beautiful. But all in all, I think just so much of what went down over the weekend was just absolutely amazing. I know that we are now going to, they're saying Seth Rollins is going to be away for some period of time, and I get that. He's earned that. He really has. I hope they obviously take care of the contract situation. That's the only concern I would have, but I think obviously that'll get done, especially with the comments Triple H made at the media event after night 2. About how amazing Seth Rollins is and how he's your guy you give the championship to when you want to lend credibility to it. So I hope they get that done. Becky done. What they did get done this week, which was breaking news today, is that Damian Priest, the new World Heavyweight Championship, terms not announced, but has signed a new contract with WWE. So it's great to know that he's going to be in the fold for an extended period of time. So happy he's getting his opportunity to be at the top of the card. I think he's earned that. I really do. Sheamus, we don't know what his status is, but he was in the news because now he's coming back as well, posting on Twitter and teases on Raw and whatnot. So we'll see Sheamus in the ring soon. I'd imagine they'd probably add some time to his contract based on his injury and whatnot. And then hopefully they work something out longer term. I'd love to see him get that Intercontinental Championship that he wants so bad. Speaking of contracts, we'll jump over to AEW. Matt Hardy turning down his latest AEW contract offer, and he is now a free agent. I would suspect that WWE and Impact Wrestling probably both are interested in some way, shape, or form. I think WWE would want him more in an advisory role, producer, working with NXT, that kind of thing. I think from Matt's comments, he really wants to do something of value before he has to hang up the boots in a year or two. Obviously, he'd love to have his brother by his side, but Jeff is still under contract, so I would assume that once that runs out, that Jeff probably will join him wherever he is. I think Impact Wrestling would be the best place for him to go because he was a single star there. The Broken Universe started there. I think that might be a great spot for him to land in the meantime. Somebody who has not also been given a contract, Stephanie McMahon. Back night 2, it was a shock to a lot of the people. It was listed on the internal run sheet that Triple H was going to open a show, and here it was actually Stephanie McMahon, and it was nice to see her back. I don't know what the dynamics are between her and her father, but I think the body language, so to speak, of the way she left, came back, all that kind of stuff. I think it speaks to her not being in approval of Vince's actions, and this, I think, gave her an opportunity to come back, see the fans. But Wrestling Observer making it clear she is not back in an official capacity. That was just a one-off, doing her performance, her appearance, or whatnot to open the show, and I think that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. I really do. One last tidbit about contracts, because you can't have news like this and not report on it. Jacob Fatu, another member of the actual Bloodline, apparently has signed with WWE. Not only has he signed, but he could be on television very soon, and looks like he is supposed to receive a massive push, whether that's in NXT or on the main roster. Who knows? Maybe he's the one who comes to lead the Bloodline after Roman Reigns has now, I don't know if you want to call it crumbles, but loses his championship and is probably going to go away for a while. He too taking time off, so we'll have to see. Somebody taking a lot of time off, Mick Foley, who had been planning for one last death match, hoping to do it with Matt Cardona, is calling off his plans for a final match. He was doing some training and apparently suffered a concussion that he didn't even know he suffered. Felt a little dizzy and whatnot, and it was just doing some light work So obviously doing a death match, not a great idea for Mick Foley. It's sad because I really would have loved to have seen him just one more time be Mick Foley. That's not going to happen, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that he made the intelligent decision for himself and for his family to protect himself. And, we can always wonder, but I think he made the right call here. Vince McMahon in the news now owns 4.7, less than 5% of stock in TKO after selling 2 massive loads of stock again. He still has a good chunk of stock. It's not like he's completely devoid of the company, but he has now sold a massive amount. Now is less than a 5% owner in the organization. Those stock shares being purchased by the TKO Endeavor Group, essentially pushing him further out of the company. This is more on his doing, but it's just that much more that he's not going to be a part of. And, that's the way it is when you do these crazy things that he's being accused of. And I think many people have made their decisions about how they feel about him, no matter what comes out. The guy clearly is not good for the brand anymore. And with Triple H at the helm, and I know Triple H doesn't like them calling it the Triple H era or the Paul Levesque era or anything like that. But whatever you want to call this, I actually agree with that, by the way. I don't think you should name it after a guy because you would want him to be around a very long time. And the era may come to an end and another one start while he's still in charge. Or with all his heart ailments, maybe he's not around forever and you don't want to keep bouncing around names of eras. So, but it clearly is a new era, and I was thrilled to see that over the weekend. Before I jump to my last topic, just got to throw this out there because it's something that rubbed me the wrong way. I saw the viewership ratings came in for Impact on 4/4, and they had 88,000 viewers, up from last week's 74,000 viewers. In the key 18 to 49 demographic, they scored a .02 rating, same as the previous episode. And what bothers me about this is that I don't think people when TNA was at their height, they were over 1 million viewers a week. And they've gotten all the way down to where 88,000 viewers is a good thing. And what bothers me about it is there are weeks where they are putting on bangers that are as good or better in some circumstances than what you see on AEW's programming. AEW pulling in 800,000 people a week. 10 times the viewers, and that tells me that there are diehard wrestling fans out there missing Impact Wrestling and what they have to offer, which is incredible wrestling action. Same thing with MLW. Same thing with CMLL if you have the channels that provide that. AAA, New Japan Pro Wrestling if you have Access Television. Check out some of these other companies. Their ratings are indicating that just far too many people are not seeing those products, and they are putting on shows that are some of the best you will find in the pro wrestling world, and it's almost a travesty for great diehard wrestling fans not to see that because it is just that good. And the last thing I got to get to tonight, Tony Khan, the Young Bucks, and the whole conversation about airing the footage from Wembley between Jack Perry and CM Punk. Now, let's be honest. They have not once said that that's what the footage is going to be. What they've said is we ain't trolling. Which, if you're the Bucks, maybe you are trolling on purpose because you want to get that nuclear heat. The problem is that would be the wrong kind of heat to get in this situation. At this point, your AEW loyal want to see this footage because Punk just came out and did his interview and threw out all kinds of conversation about what went down. We heard his side of the story. This is their chance to show what they're saying is going to be security footage, not doctored. If they doctor this footage, and this is another thing, special shout out again to Bully Ray on Busted Open and Dave LaGreca. The show they do is top notch, talking about how if this is chopped up or edited in any way, shape, or form, it blows all their credibility. The fact that they're even doing this, to me, is disgusting. The only way that this makes sense to me is if in that whole soiree, hopefully, if Punk's story is accurate, okay, it will not do anything to Punk. It won't do anything to Jack Perry. What it might do is what if FTR was back there and didn't do anything to stop it? The word was that Samoa Joe was the one who asked him to stop, and there were some other people in the back later on and whatnot. What if FTR was there standing by and just letting it happen? It would almost make it look like they were on Punk's side and weren't going to intervene. Maybe you could use that for the tag team match. Perhaps Jack Perry got more shots in than we've been told. And maybe that makes him look tougher, and maybe that's how they bring Jack Perry back to the company. I suspect that's the whole point of this in general, is to bring Jack Perry back. But either way, I think if it's not 100% storyline driven for some major gain, doing this, in my opinion, is a bad idea. Leave WWE and CM Punk alone. Move on. When your number one draw in your company is a guy who hasn't worked for you since August of last year, and we're now in April, that's a problem. And when Tony Khan came out today and talked about it and said that we're doing this for the best show and the viewership for our audience and whatnot, you're basically conceding that you have nothing without Punk. And that's not the case. They've got amazing talent. So let's focus on the talent you have. Stop with all the dream matches. Start doing some storytelling. Give fans something compelling and increase your viewership and live event attendance before you start worrying about what CM Punk is doing anymore. If you have this footage, you can release it 2 years from now if you get to the kind of audience where it even matters. But right now, it doesn't matter. You just brought in 3 of the biggest free agent signings in the history of the business with Mercedes Moné, with Will Ospreay, with Kazuchika Okada, and all we have to talk about is the release of a video about a guy who left your company 6-8 months ago. That's bad business. I don't care what anybody says. It almost reinforces what Punk said, even if it shows Punk in a horrible light. You're relying on Punk to get your ratings, and he's not in your company. Last week, you had Edge do an impassioned promo that basically was done because of Punk's comments. You're making CM Punk bigger than AEW. Now, I'd argue Punk is bigger than AEW. But at the same time, what an insult to your talent that you'd rather spend money, television time, get ratings, and all that stuff for a guy who's not even in your company anymore. Just my opinion. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing any music or sound we use in our show. Today's show sponsored by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and pick up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college or university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life educational planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. And the last thing before I go, May 11th, Eisenhower Science and Technology Leadership Academy. The 3WA faction, the group from Hatfield, Pennsylvania, will be putting on a charity event there. And for the second year in a row, I will be stepping into the ring, following my dreams. And I don't care who they match me up with that night. I am coming for another win. I'm undefeated so far. I'm coming for another win. I don't care who they put me against. This time, I'm walking out of there with my hands held high, putting smiles on my students' faces. And I could not be happier about representing my building. And just for the record, if anybody else is still in there, if anybody is sitting there in that building that I saw last time, please, by all means, show up. Because I'd love to have another throwdown with you. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.